Hello, my friends. This is a daily brief. If you're looking for Ukraine war news, I do this every day. Please consider subscribing. 1,330 Russians are off the battlefield. It's a higher number than usual, given the casualties over the last month or so. 5 tanks, 26 armored vehicles, 52 artillery systems, 95 vehicles, and fuel tanks. If we look at Andrew Perpetua's list, we see it's a little better than 1-to-1. It's not great, but it's not terrible either, given what's all that's going on over the last 2 weeks in Kursk. We'll get to Kursk in just a moment. Let's talk about some other things first. Ukrainian forces control 20% of Donetsk's New York settlement. New York has been declared lost multiple times by the Russians, but UP military sources refute the Russian reports at the fall of Donetsk, New York, as Ukraine controls parts in the north. It probably will not last all that long unless something else changes. Same kind of issue with other parts around that area near Pokrovsk. Okay, in other news, the State Emergency Situation Service published footage of the elimination of a fire in Ternopil caused by shelling. I wasn't familiar with the name Ternopil, and I had to look at where that was. It was shelled here. It's out near Lviv. So yeah, I mean, the Russians just keep attacking, and this was just a factory. I don't know that it had military use, but I can't quite tell. Area of the fire at the oil depot in Rostov, Russia, has increased several times. 22 fuel tanks are on fire. This happened, I think, 3 days ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, something like that, and it's still going. It's a pretty significant hit. Kherson Oblast, not Kursk. The strike destroyed Russian command bunker in Russian-occupied Nova Kakhovka. Okay, so it's still hot within Ukraine and occupied Ukraine as well. Ukrainian fighter destroys an underground enemy control post with an AASM hammer guided bomb. Okay, and so that's within Ukraine itself. Now, talking about Newcraine, the Russian territory just above Ukraine, that was once Ukraine on a map, but now is part of Russia. Well, so last week we were talking about as the Ukrainians are spreading into Kursk. I said, well, it's a pretty short step to control this area over here to the left. Besides, you have border shared with Ukrainian forces, border shared with Ukraine, and this third border is out of play. It's Belarus. It's either Ukraine or Belarus, depending on where you are on this side. And so that's actually what they did. They're not listening to me or anything, but this is what's actually transpired. They blew these 3 bridges, and by blowing these 3 bridges, they actually have cut off a lot of square miles and some troops. According to Russian media reports, Ukrainian forces have isolated 700 square kilometers of territory in the Kursk region by destroying these 3 bridges. Up to 3,000 Russians may become encircled in the Kursk region after bridges are blown up. So that's what's happened here. So that's a pretty good strategy for the Ukrainians. Okay, this guy is the commander of the Akhmad Special Forces in Russia. Aptly Adilov, the commander of Akhmad unit, said the special military operation would end in 2 or 3 months. Of course, he didn't specify how it would end, but okay. I think that all this will be completely over in the next months, and it will be completed not only in the Kursk direction, but also in the special military operation will be over. Now, he was making some headlines, and not good headlines. Chechen Spetsnaz commander Aptly Adilov aggravated a situation that the Kremlin has historically treated with extreme caution by calling for conscripts to participate in combat operations in Kursk Oblast and dismissing concerns from relatives of conscripts. Okay, we just need more meat for the grinder. Family members of Russian conscripts have recently complained about the involvement of Russian conscripts in the Russian border defense operation. Remember, conscripts are draftees. They don't want to be there. They just have to be there by law. They don't really want to be in the military. They just are doing what they have to do to not go to jail. Meanwhile, this Kremlin political commentator suggests that you just destroy everything in Kursk. She says we should surround them, Ukrainian forces, and carpet bomb everything. Well, that would include a bunch of Russians. By the way, I hope that's what's being prepared, because there's a reason for so many evacuations. Otherwise, why evacuate so many thousands of people? Yeah, destroy their houses. They'll appreciate that. Okay, a court in St. Petersburg sentences Ukrainian citizens to 10 years for espionage. So it's a tractor driver from Kharkiv. He's convicted of sharing non-classified information with Ukrainian forces in March 2022. So this goes back quite a ways. He just acted for his homeland. Now, the Russians have been giving some severe penalties for this kind of thing, like the woman who was half American, half Russian, who donated what 58 or $51.82 or something like that to Ukraine, got 12 years. That doesn't scream strength. That screams that you're scared. Okay, Lavrov said that there could be no negotiations with Kyiv after Ukraine's entry into Russia's Kursk region. So here he is talking about this. Now peace talks with this regime are out of the question, apparently. The president said very clearly after the attacks on Kursk region, not even attacks, but invasion of Kursk region, there can be no talk of any negotiations. And the president also said a very important phrase. We will certainly assess the situation a little later. There have been rumors recently about some hidden contacts to prepare negotiations on energy facilities between Russia and Ukraine with the mediation of Qatar. There were also rumors that our Turkish neighbors are planning to somehow mediate in the area of food security. But the context of ensuring freedom of navigation in the Black Sea, you can see what the purpose of such an endeavor might be. Now, some of you were arguing in the comments the other day that there was no peace negotiations. No, there were selected peace negotiations for particular items, humanitarian items that were on the table and is now off the table. Okay, despite already having spent 2.5 years stripping his own military to feed Russia's war machine, Belarusian dictator Lukashenko throws Putin another lifeline. And what was that lifeline? Elite units of the Belarusian army were dispatched to defend Kursk region in Russia, but they just ran away and left all their equipment behind as soon as Ukrainians attacked. According to our observations, elite units of the armed forces of Belarus were involved in the fighting in the Kursk region, but not a single unit is ready to perform its combat missions. It's very amusing to observe that after the shelling, these personnel drop their weapons, ammunition, and equipment. After that, they run away and do not know where they are, which is a big question. But we are grateful to the personnel for the trophy equipment and means of warfare. I'll show you a fascinating video at the end. Just stay with me. Okay, meanwhile in Kursk Oblast, a Ukrainian tank hauls a second captured Russian tank back over the border into Ukraine. It's, just another day hauling a tank. Germany provided a new aid package, and so thank you to Germany for all of that. Denmark announced another aid package. This is their 20th military donation package. And Jake Bro is on his second $1 million fundraiser. That first one wasn't supposed to be $1 million, but it just kept growing and growing and growing. So now here, our channel's next fundraiser starts today, and our goal is once again $1 million for Ukraine. With these funds, we'll purchase and deliver 30 more pickup trucks and hundreds of drones for frontline Ukrainian military units. So there you are. And if you want to donate, I'll put the link below. Garry Kasparov talked about how the latest joke on Russian internet with the invasion of Kursk, Ukraine has reached the borders of 91, but that's 1691. And I couldn't find a 1691 map, but if you look on this 1918 Swiss ethnographic map, Ukrainians make up the majorities in multiple Russian regions. Conversely, Russians don't constitute a majority in any Ukrainian region. So what happened that there were these Russian enclaves? That's because during the Soviet era, Russia implanted lots of Russians in Ukraine. My dear boys, let me hug you, says a resident of the Kursk region of Russia when she met Ukrainian soldiers who brought her food and to her and her neighbors. So Ukrainians are treating the locals fairly well, and far better than the Russians ever treated them. And a number of them actually spoke Ukrainian. Now you understand why. So the contrast between how the Russians treated Ukrainians when they rolled over the border and how Ukrainians are treating Russians is just amazing and stark. Okay, here I promised one last video at the end, and this is what we'll end with. This is Belarusian Special Forces displaying their prowess. It's phenomenal. Wow. Okay, not sure how strong the bricks are, but many martial artists can do this kind of thing. I like this guy at the end. Look at this. Eh, that's a smart one. Okay, so we're going to see some other dazzling displays of military prowess here, like a pyramid. And we're going to see, oh, they're going to break the fireboards on people. So look at the if you're familiar with physics, you'll realize that that doesn't mean much because it's actually going to the physics are going to break the board as much as the anyway. But here we have the pyramid that's about to form. Here we go. I don't understand exactly what the military purpose of a pyramid with the flares is, except maybe to draw fire. I'm not sure. But yay, we're clapping for this is supposed to be the elite military team that ran away. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for likes, shares, and subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.